Hello and welcome to this review of LEGO set 40601 Majisto's Magical Workshop. This set has 365 pieces, is rated for ages 12 plus, and contains 2 figures. This set was released in 2023, with the original being released in 1993, exactly 30 years earlier. Without further ado, let's get into the review and comparison. Starting off first here with the figures, we have this knight here, which I'd say looks pretty good and is actually relatively similar to the knight included in the original set, of which I do not have the figures of, unfortunately, to compare them to. But if you take off the helmet here, a extra piece is included as a hairpiece for your knight, which I think is pretty good here. Now, of course, next up with Majisto's Magical Workshop, you gotta have Majisto himself, if I'm not flinging his wizard hat around. But he comes with a pretty basic, unfortunately unprinted blue like robe, kind of like the original figure, which I believe was also unprinted, except for, of course, the face print. And he also sports a magic wand and this little random thing, which I don't know exactly what it's representing, but one of the first things in the instructions was to put that in his hand, with no real instructions on like what is supposed to go there. So if you know, you can comment below what that is representing. But yeah, I think he looks good overall. He could have used a nice little robe print like some other wizards had, even just like a little belt, just a little bit of detail to elevate him in this newer version of the set. But it is technically staying true to the original with the lack of robe printing there. So yeah, without further ado, let's move on to the actual set itself. The set itself stays pretty true to the original version, which I will show off later in this video in the comparison portion, but this is just kind of a overview of the set itself. It even features the locking mechanism that's similar to the original, which I unfortunately don't have the pieces for on the original currently, but it is similar to the original in that to open this thing, you have to take off the lock, which is a pretty nice little detail. But we'll start with the outside first. Now, as you can see, the roof looks very nice here and is basically two of the same thing, is literally two of the same thing. And then, of course, we have the little door here, which I believe is pretty well done. Other than that, when you raise the thing up to the like actual height, you can't fit a minifigure in it. Like, it's not a true height door, which would have been nice. Although it's not a functional door at all, which I don't really mind so much, as it not being tall enough for any figures to fit through it, really. Except maybe your figure here with the helmet off, but even then it's still a bit too tall. I mean, too short, which is pretty unfortunate. I kind of wish it was maybe a brick or two taller, just to accommodate a figure. Now that would have made the whole thing a bit taller, and it's already a little bit taller than the original, but still I think that should have probably been added. Next up, we have the kind of window right above it, which you can't fully open, with the railing blocking them there, which is a little annoying, but you might be able to push this up a little bit to allow that to happen. But I think it looks decent. It is using a sticker, which is kind of annoying, as you'll see a little bit later, but I think it looks pretty good overall. Now, there's some little details kind of on the almost like balcony sort of thing here, like windowsill, which are pretty neat. I do like the little bit of blue, the little bit extra color that gives this whole model, and I think that looks pretty good. Now, keeping with some of the themes of the old one, we have like a little halberd or other pole arm up here, just kind of as a nice little detail over the entranceway here, which I think looks pretty good, and you can kind of see into it. into the building itself right there, as you could on the original model, as you'll see later. And then turning to the side, both of these sides are mirrors of each other. They're the exact same build except for the back and front. Now you'll see just some basic little details, some like tree-like things spurting out from the sides, which I think look pretty good and definitely give it a little bit of camouflage. You could kind of tuck it away in the woods and stuff. And as you know from a lot of older like castle sets like this, custom-built trees were like in black, so that kind of keeps the castle theme with it in the Majisto's Magical Workshop. Then back here you have a couple of clips as well as a chimney, which you'll see the actual other part 2 on the inside. I think that looks pretty good and is also similar to the other set, as you'll see later. And the back is fairly bare. I think it looks fine and definitely does its job. And there's nothing detracting it from being like this, and it kind of needs to be because there's a fireplace on the inside, which you'll see in a minute. Then, of course, as I said, the sides are kind of mirrored here, so you have the exact same build on that side. Now going on to the inside here, you have a ladder to get up to the second floor right after the entrance, which I think looks pretty good, as well as a nice little platform on either side right there that you can have your characters walk on and stuff, which when closed there's actually space in the middle there which you cannot see, just to allow room for that ladder and people to go up and down it. So that's a pretty good little detail. And either side there is a little bit of storage that you have a sword on, at least on this side, and you can change it to that side if you want, but that's how the build goes. Now down here we of course have a nice little whatchamacallit here, a nice little scroll for the wizard to learn his magic from, as well as a couple drinks on a table. And if we flip up the ladder, there is an empty chest right here, which is cool because you can like store all your gold coins and stuff from other sets and pillaging. I don't know who you're gonna pillage with a wizard, but yeah. And then there's a little fireplace in the middle there with a pot over some very magical yellow flames. And of course there's like a little overhang right there, which would in theory lead to the chimney here and have the smoke be expelled from the top. But yeah, I'd say it looks good overall, and let's move on to the comparison section. Now, unfortunately, I am missing the figures and a couple of pieces, which I will point out on this build itself, starting, of course, with the locking mechanism. There is a 1x2 modified with the kind of stick poking up that held these two plates together like so, which is where that locking mechanism was got from. And we'll move the figures off to the side because I am of course missing them, although they were the same characters, and with the knight I believe have a shield. I believe it was the same faction as well. Now, of course, just giving a quick turnaround here, you can tell that some parts, like the outer details and stuff on the sides and back, have been improved in the newer set with a little bit of color and stuff added. And of course the chimney being the almost exact same on both of them, which is kind of cool. And the back definitely has a little bit more detail on the newer version instead of the older, which is just plain brick. Now, if parts don't fall off of it, you will be able to tell that on the front, things are a bit different, with a railing outside of the windowsill here and no railing over here. And an even cooler piece, of which I only had one that I could put on for this review if my camera focuses, being like a little dragon or a griffin looking thing. And there's supposed to be one on either side of the door, which of course that is the door, and we'll get to that later. And then above, one thing that I think it does better than the newer set, other than the very cool dragon piece, which is really rare, and we only have like one of them in our collection as a whole, which is kind of crazy, is the OG windowsill. Not windowsill. The OG window blind pieces, pardon me. Which were just these thinner pieces using some old connective pieces. I do apologize for all the dust. It is an old set. But yeah, that is definitely something the old one does better. It definitely looks a lot better than the stickers on the newer one. Now, onto the door. The door is very different between the two. The original one was just black, and I'm assuming it just is like, meaning like it's an entranceway or something. It's just black, so yeah, it's just kind of there. Magic, I guess. That's how you get in, is magic. Where on the newer one, it's actually a door, and there's some little torches on either side of said door that, you know, can give a bit of light to guide to that door. So knocking off the lock on the other piece, and here's where I would take off that 1x2 with stick right there, the 1x2 modified, but I didn't find any immediately for this, and I wasn't gonna like search through everything because our room's a mess right now. Also, I do gotta mention the pole arm on the top is a bit different, and I do like these older, more detailed pieces, which is kind of surprising. When you think it's older, it wouldn't be quite as detailed, but the older like pole arm pieces are a lot more detailed than what we use now, which is just a couple of bricks put together. But there was a whole bunch of variety in different pole arms and stuff, and as you can see, this one does look very good. Now, opening the model up, both of the models up I should say, you will see some of the same things with the treasure chest down there, low way leading up here. I'm not sure if all these accessories are accurate in there. I didn't find some photos of the inside of it, but I got some photos of the outside to find a couple of pieces. But as you can see, the insides are very similar, almost piece for piece, with a couple things shifted around, a barrel here, which is lacking in the newer set, but stuff like that's not a big deal. And I think usually this barrel is on the outside, and I do believe everything is placed correctly in both sets, with the scroll and stuff also being present, which is a very cool thing, especially for the time. And both of the insides are practically identical. They're basically the same. There's no real contest for either of them, except maybe a few newer pieces in the newer one. But I guess the main thing we can look at here is the roofs. The roofs are actually very different for having a similar look, with the newer one having that cutout for the windows, where the old one didn't have a cutout for windows or anything right there. It was just solid. Also, with the older one, we had this overlapping bit on top, which is actually kind of neat, just for a different look in the roof. Same with the other one, and a kind of a odd difference, but the old one had brown spear pieces, whereas the new one has the like gray or silver spear pieces, which is just kind of a odd change, something that, I don't know, maybe they just don't make them in brown anymore, but I'm not too sure about that. So that'll be something you'll have to leave in the comments below if you know more on that subject, because I don't know why they wouldn't include brown ones in the newer one, or just make a dual molded piece with a brown handle and a silver tip. That would be perfect. Come on, Lego, that would be awesome. Who wouldn't want that for a new spear piece? That would be super accurate. Best of both worlds. You got the brown and the silver, and that would just be such a cool spear piece to have for all future sets. But other than that, I think they're both very similar. This one definitely takes the cake in some of the little specialty pieces and stuff, whereas the new one, you'd think we'd have more specialty pieces, but not so much. It does have a door, which is nice, but it is, again, a bit short. Whereas if you look at the old door with a new figure, it's still a bit short, but you could definitely like fit the person in there if they ducked, especially with the hair on. But yeah, both models are really cool, and this is a super cool set if you have it. But this was also a GWP, you gotta remember, so that's also going to be really expensive in the aftermarket, but definitely cheaper than this guy here. We actually got lucky and found a rub on sale. That's why there's so many pieces missing and it's really dusty. But definitely pick this guy up over this guy. I know it's got some better pieces, some better specialty pieces, but the newer one also does have some certain pieces that are a little bit better with the like 1x2 modified brick here with the curved slope, whereas this one just has the normal slopes because they didn't come out with those yet. And there's definitely a couple design decisions that I like better on the newer one, whereas there is just some of the specialty pieces that I like on this one. So a hybrid model would be cool. I'm sure someone's done it before somewhere, but that is of course not an official Lego model, so it doesn't factor into this comparison here. But yeah, I think they're both great models. If you have this one, you probably don't need this one, especially with aftermarket prices. I haven't checked, but I'm sure since it is a GWP, it's going for quite a bit. I myself have a couple of these, which I am very thankful for, and it's really great, even though it just retired, so I guess they shouldn't be too expensive right now, but definitely cheaper than this guy. I think brand new, this goes for like a couple $100 on the aftermarket, and even used, kind of in the state that it is right now, if it was complete with a couple extra pieces, it would be like almost $80, which is definitely more than this guy is going for right now. So definitely pick up this guy if you really enjoy like castle stuff, or just Majisto and like other random cool stuff, or are just nostalgic for this era of Lego. I think it does a pretty good job overall of recreating that set and makes some certain improvements. Of course, a couple things like the stickers I'm not quite as a fan of, because I mean, just look at that, like that is such a cool piece. But other than the specialty pieces over there, which I've said way too much, but this set is definitely a little bit superior. I think they're quite even. They're both great sets, and I mean, just pick whichever one up you want. I'm definitely leaning towards that one because it's going to be cheaper for you right now. But yeah, with that said, have a good day, and we'll see you later. Bye.